David Haye, the Haymaker, is back in the news, and it looks like he will be making a comeback in 2016 with Carlframpton's trainer Shane McGuigan. All of this leads me to ask many questions. The first question, let's go back to the two pullouts of Tyson Fury. I know it's old news, but let's go back there. Question number one. Did David Haye get knocked out in sparring by Deontay Wilder? That's a question. I want to know if that happened, if that ever happened in sparring. Because, I don't know. I don't know if that was a confidence thing, if maybe he did get knocked out in sparring. I don't know. I've heard stories that happened. And if so, did that dent the Haymaker's confidence? Because he hasn't fought since. I think the last time he fought was against Derek Chisora, if I'm right, and that was before I left to go to the Caribbean. That was back in 2012, yeah, around the Olympic time. I mean, because my birthday is on July the 15th. They fought either July 14th or the 15th. Yeah, so, and I flew out a few days after that to the Caribbean, and I was out to the Caribbean for 2 years. So, yeah, David Haye hasn't fought for a long while. So, that's the first thing. Secondly, Shane McGuigan. Why Shane McGuigan? David Haye will give you his ideas of why he's with Shane McGuigan. But there's a few things there. I mean, there are so many other trainers. Why did he split company with Adam Booth? Don't know why that was. You know, Adam Booth has taken him so far. Does Booth even believe that Haye's got what it takes to go on and become world champion again? That's another thing. Are there things that Adam Booth saw, even back in the Klitschko fight, at the end of that fight, where he felt that David wasn't good enough at the highest level to be world champion, and now that David was actually regressing? I don't know. I mean, if we even go back to the Chisora fight, he was blowing out of his backside before he obviously got the knockout win against Chisora, but he was blowing very hard. So, and that's because Chisora was pushing him. So, here we are now in 2015. He comes back in 2016. He'd be now 35 years old. And when it comes to David Haye, a lot of fans like to look at David Haye and remember David Haye for his fights when he first became world champion. He beat Valuev, and he went and beat Ruiz, and he fought Audley Harrison, and the Monty Barrett fight. All those things, we like to remember that. We also remember him being the cruiserweight champion of the world. He likes to tell you all that he won all the belts, but there was one belt he didn't win, which was against Steve Cunningham. That's a fact. I believe that was the IBF title. For how he had all the belts up to this day, I still can't work that one out. David has an answer for that. I don't know. Again, this is not knocking David Haye. I'm really glad that he is making a comeback to the heavyweight division. Of course, you know, how he pulled out of those fights with Fury, unacceptable. How he pulled out the fight with Manuel Shah, again, unacceptable. And, you know, he pulled that against Vitaly Klitschko. But again, David's got his reasons. He's getting in the ring and fighting. And ultimately, it's him who's taking the punches. So, you know, I know as a fan, from a fan perspective, it was distasteful. It wasn't nice the way he conducted himself, but hey, that's that. So he's making his comeback now, and that's fine. Okay, so 2016. You see, fighters like David Haye, Roy Jones Jr., they have this thing that they can't actually box. David Haye is not a boxer. He does a lot of unorthodox things, and he's a sniper. Speed and power and reflexes are what David Haye bases his whole career on. And when those speed and reflexes go, and he's not a big heavyweight, when those speed and reflexes go, and his chin is the greatest at heavyweight, when those things go, of course, there are issues there because you're more likely to get caught with big shots. You're not the fighter you once were. And there's nothing to suggest that David Haye at 35 is going to come back and be better. Some people in their mind think David Haye comes back at 35, hasn't fought for 3 years. Oh, he's kept himself in great condition. He'll come back and he'll light the heavyweight division up. Don't believe so. I don't believe so. So he comes back at 35. Okay, so he won't get a crack at the world heavyweight title straight away. Who's he going to fight? And how's he going to look in that fight? And then, after how he looks in that fight, maybe 2 or 3 fights. So he could be looking at the end of 2016 before he gets a title shot. And what? He wants to fight Deontay Wilder? Hold on, Deontay Wilder's got to do Povetkin first. Let's see him get past that. On the other hand, we've got Fury versus Klitschko. Should Fury pull off the upset and beat Vladimir Klitschko, you'll probably have a rematch there with Fury Klitschko, I think. Not sure if Fury will be able to walk away with all the belts just like that. Klitschko's are way too smart. In the contract, I'm sure there'll be a rematch there. So, I don't see David Haye going down that way of the heavyweight division. Possibly fights against Lucas Brown. But again, David Haye's not coming back any better. He'll be coming back worse. He'll be coming back slower at 35 years old. Reflexes won't be as quick. I don't care what anybody tells me. You don't come back at 35 and better than you were back then. If you do, there's something wrong there. I mean, he's not like a Bernard Hopkins where he's got fundamental boxing skills, a jab. You never hear fights where, David Haye's dominating this fight behind the left jab. It's all hooks, uppercuts, So boxing fundamentals, and that's what's let Roy Jones down later in his career. He got away with doing a lot of things unorthodox, and so now, as he slowed down, guys have been able to time him with clean shots. So he's getting caught with punches he wouldn't normally get caught with earlier in his career. And I suspect the same thing's going to happen with David Haye. And I've always thought to myself, if David Haye was to come back, he's only going to come back for the eventuality to get knocked out. That's what I see as, at this stage of his career. I mean, what adjustments can you make? At 35 years old. He said, George Foreman came back. George Foreman was a phenomenal puncher. He was a natural heavyweight, phenomenal puncher, and had an awesome left jab. You don't have a left jab, David. And, that's not the style you've had. So unless David Haye makes some fundamental changes and, can do more than if you go back and look at the Klitschko fight, Klitschko shut him down, and all David Haye was reduced to doing was running in and trying to throw overhand right. Unless David Haye can make fundamental changes, I'm not so sure what he'll do against the bigger heavyweights in the division. So, and even Shane McGuigan, he's a good fighter, a good trainer, but I don't know how good a trainer he is. Surely David Haye should be with somebody who's an experienced trainer. I mean, an old wise head. So, again, I don't know why that partnership has worked. David obviously sees something in Shane McGuigan. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying Shane McGuigan's not a good trainer, but David's 35 years old. Now he's an experienced fighter. Is he just using Shane McGuigan to tick over and he basically runs the show? Don't know. But I'd love to hear what Adam Booth thinks of David Haye. No, I mean, directly. No, none of this sort of like, is he coming back? Yeah, he's coming back. None of that stuff. Adam, has David got what it takes to become a heavyweight champion of the world? And what really happened with him and Deontay Wilder in sparring? Those things I want to know. Is he still got what it takes? And people say, David Haye's a clean liver. Oh, really? I don't know if he's a clean liver. I know that he does a lot of partying. I know that he's been lived a celebrity lifestyle. I don't know. So there's a lot more questions around David Haye and his comeback. And, I think fans like to look through the whole David Haye thing as, they don't believe that David Haye's going to get any older. I mean, if you look at David Haye, a lot of the photos now, you see him, he does look like he's aged quite a bit. So I don't know how he's been living his life. So, he'll be exciting to have him back and talking, and fights against him and Tony Bellew seems to be one that it would be good because they both can talk. But I think, if David Haye struggle against Tony Bellew now, based on what Haye has done in the past as a cruiserweight, I don't know. Is he coming back as heavyweight? Is he going to fight a cruiserweight? Be interesting to see Haye fight a cruiserweight. But in the cruiserweight division, even in the cruiserweight division, there's some dangerous guys in the cruiserweight division. Some really dangerous guys. Anyone's going to pull their name up and say they want to fight David Haye at this time. Alex Scott's been mentioned. Martin Rhodes has been mentioned, but I don't know. We'll have to wait and see with David Haye. Really have to wait and see if he actually turns up to fight, if he gets in the ring and actually fights, and how he looks. Let's see how he looks. Let's see him back in the ring. Let's see him fighting. But welcome back, Mr. Haye. See you in 2016.